Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the ReQuest. It's me, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is Austin, the Day Ghost. And get ready
How's it going?
for some wackiness.
That's right. We're in for some insanity.
It's a coming this way. We're going to take a look at some amalgam tonight, some DC versus Marvel. This is a thing that I have tackled quite a bit on the channel before, but I've never, to my recollection anyway, reviewed any of All Access. And Austin, before SS Jerry requested this on Patreon, thanks a lot to SS Jerry. He is either in the comments or commented right when we posted this and said thanks and then left, but he has been around. Austin, I didn't know unlimited access existed. I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, I didn't know either of these access books existed. I assumed it was just Marvel versus DC and then those initial amalgam one shots.
Yeah, there is so much more of this than I realized there was when I was a kid.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
And it was being published longer than I thought, too, because when I was a kid, I thought they just did the big miniseries and then all the one-shots to make a big deal out of the worlds merging, and I thought that stuff all came out somehow in between the issues where they're amalgamated and then they're not, because in that book, the amalgam happens and then the very next issue, and that's done. And we don't spend any time, more than like 6 pages, with any of the amalgamated characters. It's like Dark Claws fighting Hyena, and that's about it.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
But that's not what happened, Austin. It was between two years, 2 summers.
Yeah, 'cause when does the first book come out?
96.
Oh, okay, 96. Yeah, because I think I saw Unlimited Access was 97.
97, and I think All Access is also. I think these were both published the same year. Let me double check that. Hold on, I'm looking at the tiny copyright date.
That's
No,
what I did on
96.
Unlimited Access.
So apparently,
Okay.
All Access and Unlimited Access did the very same thing that the one-shots did, which was there were 2 waves of them. So 96, and I think it was over summers. Summer 96, they had a whole bunch. I might be wrong about that. That's what I'm remembering for some reason. But there were a bunch of those one-shots, and then they did several more in 97, and some of those were follow-ups in certain ways to the ones from the previous years. So like each of the Dark Claw books came out in separate years, and I think the same thing is true of the Super Soldier ones.
Oh, okay. I just realized, though, I guess this is the 25th anniversary of Unlimited Access, 26 for the 96 stuff.
Isn't that crazy? SS
That
Jerry
is
indeed is
crazy.
in the comments, and he says, if I'm not mistaken, there's a total of 36 issues. All told, of Amalgam, and I probably own 75% of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, because you have probably, I'm guessing, the main miniseries and most, if not all, of the Amalgam one-shots, right?
Yeah, I'm missing a few of those. Some of that second wave I never had, and then again, Unlimited Access I didn't even know about, so I'm gonna have to get my hands on that at some point. And All Access I think I'm missing like an issue of, but I had I had this, well, some of this. In fact, I don't think I had the first issue. I think I had 2, 3, and 4, because I'm looking at this cover and I'm like, I don't think I had that, Michael. I don't know if I have it now, but I know I had at least 2, if not 3, of the others when I was a kid, around when they came out, or maybe a year or 2 later. I probably bought them in back issues or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, interesting. I guess one of these will show up in the comic show.
That's already happened. I did Dark Claw, but I might do another one sometime.
Oh, that's right. You did do Dark
Yeah,
Claw.
I did that pretty early because I never got to it when I was doing that series on Amalgam. But anyway, Austin had never read any of this stuff, so he had to do extra homework this week. Although I did go ahead and reread the main mini again, just because I knew you were doing that, and I kind of wanted it fresh in my mind for when it came up. And I was glad that I did, because that's pretty much Well, I want to say that's the only other place Access shows up, but that must not be true unless all the stuff he's talking about with Doctor Strange Fate happens off panel, because I don't know where that is. Like the whole thing with,
Yeah.
like, I learned a lot reading this. The whole thing with Doctor Strange Fate trying to like keep the amalgam universe together and not letting the DC and Marvel universes separate again. I didn't know about any of that. Like, I've read his setup, and I reviewed that on the Vault at one point, where you get the big reveal of who he is when he takes his mask off. Which, by the way, sorry, I'm jumping around. Is weirdly not mentioned again in this. Do you know about that? Do you know who Doctor Strange Fate is?
I think so. Is Professor
Yeah,
X?
it's
Isn't it like
Professor
something
X.
weird like that?
Which is a
Yeah.
really neat
Okay.
reveal in that one shot. It's very strange it never comes up here. I was expecting him to take his mask off at some point and talk about that. And it's like, there is a surprising amount of prerequisite expected for this.
That's so weird. Yeah. Well, it's even weirder because the X-Men are there.
That's one of the reasons I thought it was really strange, is that like, they never bring it up. They're not like, oh, this is what happens to Professor X in this amalgam universe. Maybe we should be a little bit more weary of Xavier and how morally ambiguous he is. Although they've already dealt with Onslaught at this point, and recently. So,
Well, maybe it would have been a more interesting twist if it was like, oh, it must be with Doctor Strange, and then like the X-Men show up and they're like, oh, don't mess with Doctor Strange, it's not him, and then it ends up being Professor X.
but it wouldn't be a twist for the readers that they're expecting have looked at
No,
amalgam
that's
from
true.
before. But it would be a
But,
twist for the X-Men. It's weird. It's like they never know. Like, wouldn't that
Yeah.
mean something to? That's very strange.
Yeah, that is.
It's
really
very
weird.
Doctor Strange. It's very Strange Fate.
It's very Professor Strange Fate.
So I don't want to talk too much about the regular the regular series DC versus Marvel, because we were asked to review these, and it's 8 issues, and the second series. Is it just because it's so wordy, or was it really more pages? Because it looked oversized. It looked like
was.
more pages.
They were oversized. Yeah, I want to say they were like 30 something pages.
I didn't have this. I had to cheat and go find scans, and they didn't have page numbers on them, so I wasn't sure how many pages I was reading without just manually counting them.
Well, and with All Access, I want to say the first and the last issue were oversized, but the middle two weren't for some reason.
It's very strange.
I think I'm right about that, but I could be wrong.
So I'll just say real quick that the two miniseries here are taking the Access character, who is kind of a plot device in the main miniseries, to like guard the two universes and make sure that they don't cross over. He's like a shard of the big stand-in gods that are supposed to be the DC and Marvel universe respectively. One of them is mostly red, one of them is mostly blue, and they're just big sentinel-looking god things, which is weird because the DC and Marvel universe sort of already have those in certain ways, but they made up new ones for this. And anyway, so he's made the main protagonist and kind of our eyes-in character here as an excuse to just do a lot more crossover than was even done in the regular miniseries. Almost like, well, you got all those amalgam books, but here's all these characters we never got to see fight. So let's throw all of them together and get to see them fight. And he's something of like a Spider-Man sort of character, or like a Barry Allen or something, where he's trying really hard to balance his like regular everyday life with having to do this job, and he's got a girlfriend who's annoying and is constantly yelling at him for not being around. That real typical.
They just have like the same scene
over and over again, yeah. But that's pretty much what these are about. Real quick before we get into this stuff, though, I was just curious to know, Austin, what your main takeaway was reading the DC versus Marvel for the first time.
The main book.
Yeah.
It was interesting. In that, like, it's obviously just a very like gimmicky, like, we have Marvel and DC and they're gonna fight. Like, it's fun for what it is. Like, I was thinking, and it's not as good as this, but it's kind of like the Ninja Turtles Batman movie, where I'm like, I have fun watching it. Like, I don't know if I would ever go back to it, but it is fun.
It's
Some of the
it's pretty
fights are
surface. There's
really
not a
bizarre.
lot actually
Yeah,
to it.
yeah, no, exactly. Some of the fights are really bizarre, where I just kind of go like, really? That's who you would have win? Like, I don't agree with that, and that's like the main thing this book's with. Uh, so
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
and I forget who wrote all those. If it was all Jurgens or did he just draw? I can't remember. I don't have it in front of me right now.
I can't remember. I want to say he wrote some of it, but
But
I could be
those
wrong.
guys, well, and it was also weird because half of it was technically published by Marvel and half of it was technically published by DC, which is why they keep switching titles.
Well, and I want to say he writes like one half of it, like whichever company he was with at the time.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say
It's probably
the
DC.
writers and artists on that book didn't get to decide who won the fights. They left it up to the fans. They made it a huge
And you
event.
can tell.
Yeah, you can, and that was kind of a mistake. It's basically the Jason Todd thing on steroids, where it was like we're gonna give you a list. And I remember going to the comic shop in like around circa '95 and seeing the or maybe it was later, I forget if it was actually in '96, but around that time period they had these like checklists where you could where they said these are what the matchups are going to be for each issue, and then you could check the character you wanted to win and then send that in. And I'm like, oh, okay, so it's like letting Reddit write your movies for you like 25 years before that's a thing. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's very strange, and all the fights are really short too. But it's like, oh, well, Wolverine's more popular, so he beats Lobo. Storm's more popular, so she beats Wonder
Which
Woman.
is so weird.
And it's
That
so
should blow
weird.
your brain up. The idea that Storm was ever more popular than Wonder Woman is really weird.
No, it's really weird, and that one was the big one where I was like, this doesn't even make sense. um, and then there's obvious ones like Superman winning over the Hulk makes sense. I think the Perez book that we did also on ReQuest had Batman and Captain America fight to a standstill,
Oh yeah, it did.
which I think is really weird because if their fighting level is the same, one of them hits way harder.
Yeah.
So like that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah, the choices those gods made and who was going to fight each other seems somewhat arbitrary. Some of them are kind of obvious in like similar power levels or similar themes and stuff. Like of course Aquaman's going to fight Namor,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Storm and Wonder Woman kind of make sense. But then you had weird stuff like there's a place. Sorry, this is all running together to me right now. This stuff does not binge read well at all, and I didn't have time to go back through this stuff twice. But isn't there a place where Storm is like fighting Thor or something? I can't remember. There's this weird business about like
Shazam.
that's what it
Thor.
is. Sorry, I knew it was somebody with lightning powers, and I couldn't remember who it was. Yeah, that's what it was. That seemed really unfair on the gods, the big Marvel DC gods point, right? Where we'll get into the access stuff in a second, but I just wanted to raise this point because I never thought about this before. Well, maybe it's in the old review. I don't remember, but there's this bit where Shazam reverts back to Billy Batson, and then he tries to become Shazam again, but because Thor is the thunder god, he's able to like channel the lightning and not let him turn, and then he beats him, and I'm like, well, that's a really unfair fight. You took the guy who's like Lord of Thunder and I guess lightning, and you pit him up against the guy whose weakness would be not being able to channel lightning if he's fighting. That's not fair.
Yeah, no, that is really weird. Because then that also leads to Wonder Woman picking up Thor's hammer and then not using it against Storm.
She gets this kind of neat costume and then just throws it away. I guess to say like, look how much integrity she has. Look how much honor Wonder Woman has.
It's like
She's gonna play
the
fair.
ultimate '90s choice. Wonder Woman picks up Thor's hammer and gets a more revealing costume.
And it feels like that's the only reason we did it. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so much of that book is just, and this stuff too, is just again getting to see characters fight and the whole who would win in a fight thing. And I hate it when we make comics all about that.
Mhm.
That kind of drives me
I mean, it
crazy.
makes more sense with this kind of a crossover thing because it's like that's kind of where you're gonna get for it. So
Yeah, but
it's not the biggest deal. Like
and
it's more so just on the gimmick of seeing them
And I don't mean to
together.
intellectualize everything and be like a storytelling prude about it, but what's much more interesting to me about that is just if these characters met each other, how would they feel about each other? What kind of relationships would they build? Would they get along? That kind of thing. Like, wouldn't it have been in some ways because you got the gimmick of amalgam, which is fun. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy the idea of mashing these characters up and creating new characters out of them. But the I don't know, the writer, the narrative guy in me goes, would it be kind of more fun if we could have blended the universes together where everybody had to live in the same universe for a while and see what that would have been like? You know, what if you did 30 issues of that? Like,
Well, it's interesting because we kind of have both because we have this one, which is the like fanboy, like let's see them all fight thing, and then you have the Prez one that's more so what you're describing.
well, that's true. But it's beyond just JL and X-Men. So like, there's still more interesting things you could have done with it.
Yeah, no, of course,
But
of course.
that's an excellent point. The one thing that is kind of interesting with DC versus Marvel idea wise is just the way that they kind of use it as like a metaphor for editorial and publishing, and like we've got these two publishing houses that are rivals, but a lot of people read both of them. So like maybe we should try to get along, and maybe it's okay that we both exist. And you get to the end of that book, and I'm sure I'm reading too much into this, and I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I had this thought this time where it almost felt like the writers, and I don't think this is really true in the 90s, but it kind of felt like the writers saying, or like editorial at both houses saying like we're too petty maybe in just as people in general, but maybe even as publishers in like going up against each other and trying to defeat each other at the newsstand or whatever, when we're creating these stalwart heroic characters that are better than us, and we can't live up to that, because the whole reason the gods finally decide at the end to leave everybody be and keep the two universes together, and they kind of shake hands, is oh, we've become more petty than our creations, and our creations have like outdone us. And I was reading this kind of like meta kind of publishing metaphor in that, and I was like, well, at least there's kind of an interesting idea here.
That's really funny because I was thinking about it compared to the Prez book, which is very much like let's look at Marvel and let's look at DC and kind of explain why both are important.
Yeah.
And then I thought this one was like, oh, it's a toy commercial, and then at the end they both go, "Hey, you're cool."
Yeah. No, that is what it is. But I'm wondering if there was a little bit more thought behind
yeah.
it, and it just doesn't
And
really
I think my
translate.
brain just like immediately went, "Nah, probably not. It's probably just a toy commercial." But not that it's like got toys, but you know what I
I
mean.
need to
Like
go
that kind of
back
super
and
friendly.
and in the same way that that Secret War is,
Mhm.
even though
No,
that actually
exactly.
had toys, I think.
Mhm. And more character work, but
Yeah.
that's neither here nor
For
there.
some reason, very little of the Perez book is sticking with me. Like, we reviewed that, and I can't remember much about what happens in that. I'm going to need to go back and reread it, because we both liked it.
Yeah. No, it's like this type of thing isn't really my bag, but like I enjoyed both of these for what they are.
That's
Absolutely.
probably infinitely better than at least the miniseries.
Yeah. No, they're both doing very different
It,
things.
yeah, but I mean, it's better written.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And better drawn. And
And even as much of a novelty as this is, we can certainly compare writers to each other, because with the two miniseries we're going to be talking about today, one of them is much better written than the other one. And
yeah.
they're still both more about the novelty of just mixing all this stuff together than anything.
No, absolutely. And with that one, it feels more like classic, like here's the kind of classic characters on each side, while this one and Into the Axis books are like very of the time
Yeah.
that they came out, both in characters that they pick and the like awful designs that half the characters have. In a way, this book came out a decade too late, I think, in that a lot of these characters don't have their kind of classic designs that you would want to see them interact with.
Yeah.
And
And the
that's
way
something you
characters
kind of fix later on, because like Spider-Man, for example, you have the stupid Ben Riley suit, and then in the All Access book you get the traditional one. So
but
it's
only
like, okay,
because
well you at least get
okay, but
that.
only because he's gone back to it, and then once you
No,
get
no, I know.
to unlimited access, we've already gotten to energy-based Superman Blue, and we got to bring that in.
No, we start with mullet Superman and end with blue Superman. Superman is in a rough place in these books.
He really is. Well,
And Thor's got like his awful costume in the main book, and then I don't think he shows up again in Unlimited Access, but it's in the past, so
yeah.
he's more traditional
Yeah,
there.
well, we'll talk about that. There's time travel shenanigans
Yeah.
and paradoxes upon paradoxes, and the whole thing doesn't really make a lot of sense by the end, but it doesn't matter because, again, it's just about the fun of. I think a lot of that book is just what are the teams and characters we haven't seen yet on panel together? Oh, let's throw those in. But then the way it ends, it really wants to keep going with this, and they just for whatever reason, end up not publishing any more stuff after this. So I don't know if they just didn't keep a contract going or what the deal was. Maybe SS Jerry or somebody in the comments knows more than I do about the history of that and why no more Amalgam happened. But like this stuff was so popular, or maybe it just got less popular and people weren't buying these books by the end. But you really get the sense that it becomes so, and access becomes way too powerful, and it becomes so easy for him to go between universes, and it becomes so easy for sometimes for no good reason characters to just start randomly showing up between universes that you get the sense, you start to feel like almost, I felt numbed by it by the end. And again, part of it was because we shouldn't have read all this all at once, but it's like 60s Batman. Like that's a lot of fun. A little goes a long way, and when I got to the end of that, I was like, "Oh, this wants to keep going forever. Like, are we ever gonna stop seeing DC and Marvel mixing by the end of this?" Which is so weird because, of course, now it never happens.
Yeah. No, I want to know who owns Access at this point.
Boy, that's a really good question.
I want to ask though, Cap. Do
Yeah.
you like Access?
I'm completely indifferent to Access as a character.
Access, I think, to me is like the main character of the new Mortal Kombat, where it's like
He's just a plot device.
he's just a plot device and he's kind of boring.
Yeah.
And I think it's weird because he's supposed to be representative of both companies, but he's much more a Marvel character.
I don't agree with that. I don't
Okay,
think he is
interesting.
representative of both companies. I think he's representative of the reader.
Oh, okay. See, I kind of figured that he was supposed to, because he's a man of two worlds, that he's supposed to kind of represent both.
Well, and maybe so, but he just, I guess the reason I'm saying, because you're right in that he does start in one universe. He grew up in the Marvel universe. He kind of sees himself as more of a person of that world, but then he's crossing between them. But the reason I say he feels like a stand-in for the reader is because he's so generic and he's such a clean slate that he's kind of there just to give us a lot of like exposition about what's happening and about what his abilities are, and he's kind of just somebody to tell us what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm. No, and you are right about that. I think he gets too much to do for just being that.
Yeah, I do too. Well, because we're also supposed to sympathize with him in that, like, the whole Peter Parker of it feels kind of tacked on, where it's like.
Well, that's the part where I say, like, he feels way too much like just a Marvel character. And it makes it feel weird because he's supposed to be, a man of both in a way.
Yeah, but then at least if he's gonna feel more like a Marvel character, he starts there.
That is true. That is true.
But wouldn't it be more interesting? This is one of those things where I just find myself coming up with kind of and I don't mean to sound pompous about it, but just while I'm reading, like, ideas will come to me that seem more interesting than what I'm looking at, and so I find myself going, it seems like there are some, missed opportunities. Like, what if, because we're told that growing up, Access wasn't good at staying in one place. And by unlimited access, and you wonder how much of this stuff was planned and how much of it is just coming up with new rules retroactively. But the idea in unlimited access is supposed to be that access has to jump between universes a lot because his powers make it really easy for, I guess that's the explanation for why things keep blending, really easy for characters to start crossing over, and he risks an amalgam just by being in places. So he has to be constantly moving. Wouldn't it be more interesting if it was more of what you're talking about, and he was a man of both worlds, in that when he was younger, all the way up till now, he kept jumping between universes and didn't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
what if he lived in both and just didn't know he had powers and thought maybe he was crazy or something, and that and like that would really feed into, eventually he's in an alleyway and is kind of acting like a crazy person. But it's not even until unlimited access that we know that's the same character.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of it makes it just feel to me like it's DC coming to Marvel, if that makes sense, as opposed to feeling like something made by both companies.
Yeah. Did you feel that way reading the miniseries? I mean, reading DC versus Marvel?
No, it was mainly when we got to the Access stuff, because he became the main focus, and that's when we like really started to focus in on like who he is as a person and his girlfriend and all that.
SS Jerry, that's amazing. He says, Cap, I'm pretty sure Access's last appearance was actually in a Green Lantern book where he comes in looking for him, but he's busy and just leaves, like, forever.
That's amazing.
That's fantastic. One thing that was always, I'm glad he brought that up, because this reminded me of a point I wanted to make, which is when I was a kid, I was baffled reading DC versus Marvel. And remember, I wasn't reading a lot of current, so I would buy things when I found them cheap, like a couple of years after they came out sometimes. But that was such a big event. Like, I actually got to go to the comic shop and buy those. And our nearest comic shop was like an hour away. So, like, it was a big deal to get to do that. And I remember reading the first couple issues of that and going, why do characters from DC and Marvel know each other? Because I didn't realize there had ever been crossovers before. And I always thought it was really weird, even once I got more to know about that everything is canon. Like, anytime these characters have ever crossed before, they remember it between them. And then you get to the weird shenanigans in Unlimited Access at the end, where this time, conveniently, characters do not remember things so they don't mess up the timeline. And there's no explanation for that.
Yeah, I thought that was really weird. And part of me went, it maybe would have been more interesting if we just accepted, like, yeah, this isn't going to be canon because, legally we can't reference any of this. So let's just take the kind of most base, like, iconic versions of each character from both sides and just do, like, an out-of-continuity thing with them.
That's what I wish they'd done, yeah.
Yeah,
but they had to act like it mattered.
Much more what the Prez book is.
The problem is,
not, obviously that's in retrospect.
The problem is, you're in the early days of every year we've got to have an event.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And like that becomes much more prevalent, much more of a problem by the 2000s. But we were already starting to get kind of in that mindset. With Death of Superman and Nightfall, and so it's not so much like every year we've got to have big intercompany crossovers, but you're starting to get closer and closer to that.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely, and I don't know, just some of that stuff is just like kind of weird, where you jump in and it's like, oh yeah, Spider-Man and Batman, they've been around, but this isn't the same Spider-Man, so. Because everybody wanted to see Ben Reilly Spider-Man meet all these DC characters, right?
Yeah, well, and then... Oh, and by the way, I got to take issue with you for a second, because earlier you said that dumb Ben Reilly costume, and I sort of agree with you. Like, I'm glad we didn't stick with that forever, but when we gave it to Spider-Girl, I really liked it.
Oh, that's Spider-Girl. That's different.
I'm just saying it is the sort of the same costume, just with a female figure, like because she's got the gauntlets or the wrist things and.
Yeah, but the difference there is that it's not Spider-Man.
I'm just saying I like that costume. Once you get there.
I'm sure if you took the blue Superman and made that a new character, it would maybe be better.
I'm just flipping through so you guys can see some of this art and see some of the crossovers with characters that we may not spend much time on. We're already half an hour into this. We've been talking too much about this just in general. Yeah, I know. I don't understand that. I think this might be my favorite panel in the first All Access book where Venom bites on Superman's arm.
Oh, did you think it was weird that Venom is apparently more powerful than Superman?
We had this problem in the 90s where if a character was too popular, they were too powerful. And I think Venom had that in spades where, as a kid, I never knew what exactly his power set was and how powerful he was supposed to be. He was like a Power Ranger, man. It was kind of just whatever story we're telling, he can beat anybody we want him to beat.
No, absolutely.
Senior Sticks. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it was weird getting there where I'm like, Superman struggling to fight Venom? Really? Okay. Couldn't his heat vision just like cut right through him? Like one of his weaknesses is also
fire.
Heat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Well, and doesn't Superman have lots of different ways to make sonic stuff? Like I wasn't sure that Superman would even need somebody to make a sonic gun thing to shoot at Venom. Like,
well, and could you just walk into a lab with Superman's cape and be like, "Hey, Superman wants me to wants you to give me this thing."
Yeah, me having Superman's cape is proof that I'm working with Superman and not that I somehow murdered him.
Or that I just, made my own.
Well, whoever was, because I forget where they said he was was it like Star Labs or was it one of those places? I would think whatever scientist was there could probably do like some kind of test on the cape and tell if it's indestructible, because I think his cape is supposed to be. I don't know.
He was only gone for like 3 seconds.
I did think it was really funny when you get to unlimited access and access meets the energy version where he's like, you stopped wearing the cape. That's a bummer. Because we just saw him like running around with Superman's cape. And I don't know if that was intentional, but I thought that was pretty great. Let me read the super chat real quick. Senior Sticks, if Venom tries to bond with Superman, does Lex get his powers as the symbiote was able to duplicate Spider-Man? Also, is Alien? Second, would that be cool? I don't know if I fully understand this question.
Wait, Lex gets his power? I think he just means.
Why would Lex get his powers?
And like I guess.
As the symbiote was.
If Lex gets the symbiote after.
Yeah.
But I would assume that Venom would take Superman's powers like that. As for the would it be cool thing, like I don't know, it would be cool for like this, I guess.
Yeah.
It's kind of. I was talking to Dan about this the other day, which is, something like Web of Shadows is pretty cool for like a video game plot. But now we just do that stuff in comics, and it's not cool anymore. Like Norman Osborn as the Carnage symbiote right now.
Yeah.
That's lame. I don't care about that.
No, that kind of thing just screams we're out of ideas. And to be honest with you, for a lot of comic fans in the 90s, this also screams we're out of ideas.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, entirely a gimmick thing, which isn't like necessarily a bad idea. Like there's things that I like that I think are gimmicks for what they are.
At least it didn't last forever.
Mm-hmm. No, and that is true too.
Was it weird that Daredevil was just swinging around here and then we never saw him again? And then you get to unlimited access and you got Daredevil Yellow. And like,
yeah, you assume he's gonna do something here, and then he doesn't.
Yeah, he's just there's a few places where that kind of thing happens. You remember that thing?
It like baits you out. You're like, oh, sweet, Daredevil's gonna show up. Oh, I'm stuck with Jubilee.
Remember yeah. By the way, there's some bad faces in the second issue here. Like Ming looks like she's 55 years old in this panel. Like, what is happening with her eyes? And then and then look at Jubilee here. Jubilee suddenly looks like she went from 16 to like 8.5 by that bottom panel. It's weird.
I don't know. She's a mutant. Who knows?
Do you remember that? Yeah, but she's not Mystique. Do you remember that business with Black Cat? Where Batman's like looking off in the distance, he's like, Catwoman. Oh, no, that's not Catwoman. And then and then
it never happened.
We didn't do anything with that? She was just over there?
No, I thought she was gonna be a character.
Yeah.
Batman saw a woman on another building, and then he kept going. Nothing happened after that.
I thought it'd be cool if he actually had some kind of relationship with Black Cat, but then we didn't do anything with that.
Do something.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he would think of her, I guess.
We should have merged Catwoman and Black Cat to be Black Woman.
No, it'd be Black Catwoman, right?
Oh, Black Catwoman.
Look, there's no way to make this.
I think her name's Eartha Kitt, you racist.
I was gonna say there's no way to make this not sound racist. Like.
Anyway,
Amalgam Nation wanted to make sure that I read this comment. Do you know that both Marvel and DC created their own girlfriend characters for Axel Asher, and Ming Ku Fan became the girlfriend because her side won?
Oh, interesting. I thought it was really weird because there's a Marvel girlfriend and then a DC one, and the first miniseries ends with him going off with the DC one, and then the next miniseries opens with he's back with Marvel.
Ming, and then he's like, I sort of like half cheated with this other girl. Like, I kept going back to that universe and seeing her, and there's some really awkward relationship stuff.
Yeah.
Yes,
there is
in these books, particularly this first mini. Why even do the Rogue Robin thing again if Robin in his book? Or I don't know if Robin's got a book right then. He does. I think the idea is he's dating a girl, so when Rogue comes back to him, he can't just
Jubilee.
Sorry, Jubilee. When Jubilee goes back, there's so many characters. I'm just saying.
I don't even think
now.
Rogue shows
No,
up.
she's not. But I just have too many characters in my head. When Jubilee, see, I'd rather be reading about Rogue.
But Jubilee might have the most screen time out of any character across these amalgam books.
Yeah, she does. So what's weird about it? God, some of these faces. What's weird about it is, Robin, so that he can save face with his fans that are reading his book right then, can't just run off with Jubilee because he's dating a girl. So she shows up and really missed him and begged Axel to get her over to the DC universe so that she could see Robin again. And Robin's like, "Oh, it's really nice to see you again. I'm kind of taken. Sorry about that."
Well, all of that's just awkward because it's also weird that he would even take her to the alternate universe after everything. Like, I don't know. All of that was really weird, I thought.
Yeah, because the whole point is to...
It's just kind of forced.
Yeah, because his job is to separate them. And then she's like, "Oh, but pretty pleased with sugar on top." And he's like, "Ah, what can it hurt?" And he takes her over there.
Yeah, after just fighting Venom and being like, "This is really bad. This could never happen again."
Yeah.
Oh, what's that? You want to kiss a boy, Jubilee? Okay.
Yeah. She takes him over, and then he kisses her, or she kisses him at the end, because she's never going to see him again, which I think is, just in my humble opinion, a perfectly reasonable, like, one-time thing for Robin to do. And then he's like, "Oh, what's my girlfriend going to think about this?" And I'm like, I don't know why you'd tell her.
Girlfriend, a woman from another universe came and kissed me. Anyway,
made out with me. I'll never see her again. We didn't go any further than that. Like, I believe honesty is the best policy with most things, but in this particular, why would you even bother telling her about that?
Well, okay,
I don't think you did anything wrong.
Let's be honest, Cap. What's the more like unbelievable thing to tell your girlfriend? A woman from another universe came and kissed you, or B, her name was Jubilation Lee.
Yeah, well, and it's also not super realistic that you would even be all that interested in Jubilee, because I've never liked that character.
She's Jubilee.
She's Jubilee.
Yeah.
I
No, she gets way too much screen
How
time.
much of that is just they're both teenagers and they're wearing similar color schemes? I've always thought that. I've always thought, oh, we matched Jubilee with Robin because yellow.
Mm. No, that's absolutely the case. Yeah.
And then we got to blend them in amalgam so we can be as awkward as humanly possible. Like, these characters were romantically interested in each other. Let's now make them the same person. And then when they and then when they separate out again, when you're looking at the regular series, there's no talk about how weird that was for them. It'd be pretty freaking weird.
No, that'd be very weird. Imagine if you and your wife became one person.
I don't want to imagine that.
I'm sorry.
We did
I
talk
went too
recently
far.
about how maybe you'd switch bodies with your spouse, and that would be the only person you'd be willing to switch bodies with because you're like you know them so well, and you're that like you'd learn something. Even you'd be even more intimate in a way. Like maybe that's the only person on the planet that you'd want to actually switch bodies with. But I wouldn't want to be the same person. I wouldn't want to amalgamate. That's a bridge too far.
Yeah, you and Sarah don't want to be Firestorm, is what you're saying.
Well, no. Especially if I have to be the floating head that just tells Sarah, like, what room to go in.
Because you're flipping pages.
Yeah.
I had the Scorpion toy when I was a kid, and it was awesome.
The one from the cartoon series?
Yeah.
Well,
Actually, I don't know if it was
this Scorpion costume is crappy.
I don't know if it was the animated one. It might have just been like a comic one because it was like that exact look. But no, it's not a great Scorpion costume. But I liked that toy as a kid.
Is it not kind of weird, retroactively?
Mm-hmm.
I just had that thought that, do you know what I'm going to say? That we've got two villains that cross
that are both
into
Spider-Man
DC.
villains.
Well, and also that are Scorpion and Venom. The Venom symbiote will take over Scorpion in a few years.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even.
That's
think
really
of that.
weird.
I didn't think of that. But
no, I just now thought of
I was like, that is weird that they're both Spider-Man villains.
One of the things I wanted you to speak to this real quick, if you would. One of the things that you mentioned to me when you were reading the main Amalgam series was how weird you thought it was that the characters that we matched up weren't always necessarily the characters that amalgamated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the fight. I thought that was very strange. And then the amalgam thing gets weirder in both Access books because we start amalgaming different characters.
And just characters that happen to be in a scene together, so we do it with Bishop and Superman?
Yeah, and I think it gets like to the highest point of laziness in the last miniseries.
Oh, we'll get there here in a little bit. Yeah, with Thor-El. Yeah, Thor-El. Put a tack in that.
That's not even his name. It's his dad's.
I know. Hey, would you give us just, because we're jumping all over the place, would you give us just a real quick synopsis of this first miniseries with the Doctor Strange of it all and what's happening with the Amalgam Universe and all of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so All Access is Venom appears in the DC universe, and Access has to bring him back. He brings him back. That he brings Jubilee over to make out with Robin. Scorpion shows up, and he realizes like, hey, something's going down here. We got to figure something out. Like, Batman, come and help me. And they realize that Doctor Strange Fate in the Amalgam world wanted to keep Amalgam just as a universe. He didn't want them to split again. So they go, well, clearly it's Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange Fate exists within him. I thought it was weird they didn't go to Dr. Fate. It was just, well, it has to be Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
But it turns out they were right, and Doctor Strange Fate is like living within Doctor Strange, which is very Shumagorath in the Englehart run. And he breaks out and he starts just amalgamating people that are there. And
which doesn't seem like it would serve his needs, right? The way he's talking about at the end, because we kind of tack on I want to say an MO, but like a motivation right at the end where we're supposed to suddenly sympathize with him more than we have, because it's like my universe got destroyed by putting the other two universes right again. That's not fair, is it? And I'm like, well, the only reason that would be, you might have something of a point if you were talking about the people that were created by that merger, but you're making new ones. So it seems like all you really care about is the universes blending, which seems arbitrary, not so much the specific people and universe that you had. He says, well, I just need an army. So, like, this isn't ideal, but I'm just going to put these characters together. And I'm like, okay, so your army does what? Like, what's his end game? If he can defeat Access, is his whole idea, then I can make the amalgams I really want to make? Does he have to have them all in the room together in order to do that? I don't understand.
I assume so. I think it's just I'll make these amalgams for now, and then I'll separate them.
Okay, that makes more
sense. Put back what I want. Yeah, you get Superman Bishop, which is just so bizarre. And he is like the face of Bishop, but he's white like Superman.
Yeah, it's really strange.
There's some like unfortunate stuff here and there like that.
Yeah. And like, I don't even know what his name is supposed to be. He's just got a big M because Bishop has the mutant tattoo on his face, or branding.
Yeah. Well, we hit a certain point where the names get really lazy.
Yeah, really late, like this page.
And okay, the Jubilee Batman crossover is just a Batgirl. Like that could exist in the DC
world. That's all it is. Sure, it's got a couple of her leg things, but everybody in the 90s had the leg things.
Yeah, no, she just looks like a 90s Batgirl.
Yeah. And then
Martian Manhunter is just Martian Manhunter with Jean Grey hair.
Which is only slightly more disturbing than what happens to Jean Grey in the second mini. So why do we keep amalgamating Jean Grey?
I don't know if we need to stop. Jean Grey is amalgam name in the second miniseries is maybe the laziest.
It's the laziest. Name. Yeah, it's Jean Black.
Jean Black.
Because she merges with Black Canary?
Yeah.
And then she has like a psionic canary cry, and I don't really understand how that works. I like the weirdness when he goes into the astral plane with Doctor Strange. This whole thing read like just a Doctor Strange story, and I kind of like that about it.
Yeah, Cap messaged me before the show, like, hey, why is this a better Doctor Strange story than what was the one that, what was it called? The Jason Aaron run. I can't remember what it's called.
It was Last Days of Magic.
Last Days of Magic. And I'm like, yeah, it's because it's actually Doctor Strange. I mean, it's not really Strange Fate, but
well, no, but Doctor Strange himself is there, and he's in, like, even when Doctor Strange Fate takes over, we still get stuff with Doctor Strange in the astral plane, and he's in character. He sounds like Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
he's handling things the way he would. He gets a really easy 5-second wrap-up at the end where I don't understand why it's so easy for him to do this.
He puts everyone in a bubble.
Yeah, he's able to reconstruct the amalgam universe somehow and put it all in basically like a mystical version of the Bottle City of Kandor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how that works, but...
So, forgive me for a second, because I'm going to be slightly self-indulgent and tell you, Austin, about how this is weirdly an amalgamation, a combination of 2 different Star Trek episodes. Are you ready?
I knew you were going to Star Trek.
It is 2 different Star Trek episodes. So you have Tuvix, which was, and I brought this up before, which was a Voyager episode in, I think, season 2 or 3, where Tuvok and Neelix merge in a transporter accident and become a third character named Tuvix, and the whole thing is this kind of moral quagmire about whether or not Janeway should separate them back out to the other 2 characters once they figure out how to do that, because he sees it as an execution. If you put Neelix and Tuvok back together, then what about me? You're killing me and I haven't done anything wrong, which is exactly Strange Fate's argument about the amalgam universe. The merger of those 2 universes created a new thing. It's not fair to destroy it because it has as much of a right to live. I wish we'd actually dealt with that some, because we get it in a panel and a half. But it is kind of that story. And then Doctor Strange's solution at the end is the same solution at the end of a late TNG episode, which is called Ship in a Bottle. And that's about Professor Moriarty from the holodeck, who wants to, who is a self-aware hologram, and was created in an earlier episode in order to be a character that could defeat Data. And the way the computer it interpreted that was it made a self-aware hologram that wants to be able to live in the real world, and it makes and so Moriarty in Ship in a Bottle in season 6 makes everybody think that he is actually somehow able to walk off the holodeck and be in the real world, and it turns out that he's just put that he's actually gotten characters in a holodeck, and it's like a holodeck inside of a holodeck thing. So the way Picard solves the problem, it's a really cool episode. The way Picard solves the problem at the end is he does the same thing kind of back to Moriarty and makes him think that he is living in the world that he wants to live in, like this little holodeck in a cube, where he's able to like go explore the universe and has no idea that he's that he's in a simulation, which is essentially what Doctor Strange does at the end of this, where he puts Doctor Strange Fate in a tiny bubble and says, "Oh, you have your universe," and he's never more the wiser. I feel like that character is too like cosmically aware to not know what is happening.
Well, especially because they don't have a world around them. They're all just like posing for a picture no one took. They're just in a line.
That's a good point. That's one of those things that just kind of screams, well, we've only got a couple of pages left, so...
Yeah, exactly. No, Doctor Strange says, you don't deserve to live, Doctor Strange Fate. You're a product of the 90s. It's time to just live in a bubble.
My apologies. I know that was long, but it really is. It's both of those episodes just mashed together.
No, that's crazy.
Did you want to say anything else about that before we just briefly talk about unlimited access?
No, let's get into the unlimitedness.
I don't know why all four of these. Okay, this is all mixed up for some reason. I think I might just leave it that way so that we can look at a bunch of different artwork, though.
Yeah.
Austin, would you kindly tell us real quick what happens in this one? Good luck. This is all over the place.
Unlimited Access, aka Marvel vs. DC Endgame, is a time travel story in which Marvel and DC decided, hey, we had characters fight in our other two things. Why don't we like just go to popular places and like have specific versions from like specific times of characters show up and fight? Wouldn't that be cool? And then they do that. We go to Days of Future Past. We go to the Old West.
You see the original Avengers fight the original.
Yeah, the original X-Men there,
and then the original X-Men are there.
Weird. Yeah.
The what do you call it?
Like not Teen Titans.
Yeah, they show up, and it's not Young Justice, or is it Young Justice at that point?
I don't even think they have a name. He just says like, I'm pulling these specific characters out. He doesn't go, I'm pulling this team. It's really weird.
Yeah. But I know, I don't think Young Justice had started yet. But maybe...
No, he just goes, I'm going to pull out Wonder Girl, like Robin, you know, these characters.
Yeah.
And he doesn't just go like, oh, I'm pulling out the Teen Titans, or I'm pulling out Young Justice, or whatever.
There's entirely too many characters in this book. That maybe goes without saying. But yeah...
This book's also too long.
It's just a who's who, like... Just everything we can think of to mix together. No, why can't I think of the name of that team that my eyes always glaze over? The 30th century.
Oh, Legion.
Yeah,
superhero
the Legion's there. Yeah,
for like half a second. Like they don't even matter.
No. They fight for quite a while. They show up in the.
Do they fight for a while?
Yeah.
See, I just remember it being they're there in Days of Future Past for like a second.
No, they're in Days of Future Past for like half an issue.
Is it that long?
Yeah, they're there for a while.
Okay.
fighting with Access, and I forget if he brings any. This all is running together. I can't remember if he brings anybody else there or what. Because I think that's before
No,
he
that happens
realizes.
later.
That's before he realizes he can just suck people from different uh, time periods and different universes into this.
Mhm. Yeah, no, exactly. And before this, you have Jonah Hex show up, which is weird. Jonah Hex is just like lost in the multiverse, I guess, because he like falls into the portal, and then he's just falling, and then Axis goes, "Oh no, I don't know where he landed." Okay, anyways, moving on, and they never go back to that.
Yeah, it's really strange. And through all this, Access comes to realize again retroactively. It kind of reads like they just made all this up later on. I don't know if you agree with that. Like, do you think any of the mythology with Access's
No,
abilities was thought of
no,
before this book?
no. It reads 100% like, hey, uh, let's go to like popular times. Wouldn't that be cool? That's something we haven't done yet. uh like, we want to see DC characters in Days of Future Past. No, apparently we don't want to see any popular DC characters in Days of Future Past.
But what I mean is the business of, yeah, because even then I don't think there were a lot of Legion readers, but maybe I remain confused as to what kind of fan base Legion has. I
I
can't
mean, they're
tell.
getting an animated movie, so
It got an animated
they at
series.
least have one, I guess.
No, it had a series.
Oh, does it have a series
Yeah,
too?
yeah. I don't think
Weird.
Legion ever got its own animated movie. It's
It's
in.
coming out this year.
Oh, is it? I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. I thought you were talking about the thing Bruce Timm made that is technically in the DC AU, but for just weird business reasons.
No, the next I think three direct to DVD DC movies are Legion, The Doom That Came to Gotham, and Justice League Warworld.
Oh, I hadn't heard about all that yet. I'm so behind on those. We've been talking about reviewing the last few because I keep forgetting to get to those.
Hmm. No, I watched the trailer for Doom That Came to Gotham, and it looks really good. I didn't watch the trailer for Legion though.
That's neat. I don't care about
Yeah,
Legion, but I'll watch it
yeah.
at some point. Yeah, maybe that'll win me over. Maybe that'll be the thing that makes me go, "Oh yay, Legion!" All my least favorite DC things are coming up this week,
I
and
know,
just
isn't that
and
crazy?
just least favorite things. Like we had to talk about Jubilee, and yesterday and had to talk about Booster Gold and the Legion.
Why did they become one? Booster Lee.
It just rolls off the
I
tongue.
can make lazy names too.
Yeah, we can all do this. It's easy. But you know what? This is still more fun to read, and even the nonsense that is this book over the first Access. Even this stuff is a more easy to read than that horrible Marvel crossing over with itself book we had to review. You remember that?
Oh no, I wiped it from my memory. I
Didn't you do
can't.
that with me?
Infinity Warps,
The
yeah.
Infinity Warps, that's what it was. Yeah, that was like
I
amalgam if it
I
was only
completely forgot
Marvel,
about
and
that.
it was lazier than this.
Yeah.
Remember how terrible that was?
No, I went to Niagara Falls with some friends last summer, and I saw some Infinity Warps pops, and I was like, "Look at that crap!" I read that.
Wow. Um, but no, I wanted to talk specifically though about the like rules that we learn about Access where and his history where we find out that he's actually that like the guy in the alleyway from the original Marvel vs. DC series that tells him like what he is and what his powers are was actually him from the future.
Hmm. No, it's very
I,
infamous.
I doubt I doubt very seriously that they had that thought out.
There's no way, and then they also add the rule that if he's in a location long enough, then other characters from the other universe will start to appear,
Which
which also is definitely not a thing.
no, like
Before
is
the book.
something accelerating that because he's lived in one universe his whole life and it wasn't a problem before.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
see, I
And
didn't
Doctor
understand that.
Strange Fate was throwing them across universe in the All Access.
Yeah, yeah, good point. So like it wasn't him doing it,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah,
he just becomes insanely powerful. where it's just where it's like I can just think about characters and they'll show up from different universes, and I can now suddenly amalgamate people.
He becomes Scribble Nuts.
That's true. That is also, by the way, an infinitely better comic than this, but I digress. Scribblenauts had its own comics. I don't know if you know that. They were pretty great.
No, I did know that. I think I've heard you talk about it before.
I reviewed them when they came out, yeah. Years and years ago now.
So at least here we get like classic versions. It's not the main book one where it's all 90s characters.
Well,
now
it is though, because
Superman.
we still mix them because then Energy Superman shows up and is mixing
I
with them.
just mean with like the original Avengers, original X-Men, and they say the original Justice League, but it's not the original Justice League.
No, Martian Manhunter's there.
No, but Batman and Superman aren't.
Well, what was the actual original Justice League?
I think the original Justice League is Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, Aquaman, and Flash.
Okay, I'm just gonna make sure we're sure about that because I don't trust anything anymore. I always find out I'm wrong about these things.
Because the first issue is them fighting Starro.
That's not the first issue, is it?
I thought it was, but I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I thought that was the first appearance of the Justice League.
And welcome back to another exciting episode of We're Fake Comic Fans.
I don't think Black Canary is an original Justice League member.
Well, they needed a girl.
Yeah,
it was very important.
They needed somebody to make Jean black.
No, you're right. You're spot on. In Aquaman, did you say Aquaman? You said Aquaman.
Yep.
But also featured Green Arrow, Hawkman, Atom, Black Canary, Red Tornado, Hawk Girl, Zatanna, and Firestorm. But I don't know how early any of those.
You rattled that off like Busta Rhymes.
I'm a rapid reader. Oh, hey, real quick, there was a super chat earlier from Senior Sticks. We've gone off the rails. $2 super chat. Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. worked well enough. I remember liking that when I read it okay, but I don't remember it very well.
Yeah, that's not in any of these, so...
No.
Interesting. So there was like a Batman amalgam and a Bruce Wayne?
Yes.
That's weird.
Well, they did this with a few characters where the Dark Claw version was Logan.
Oh,
and then you have
well, that would make sense because they'd have to have one identity. Okay.
Yeah, but it's still weird because you did amalgamate. I mean, I'm with you. You did still take the same character and amalgamate it twice.
Yeah, because how does that work within the the idea that you take two characters and you merge them? Because that also means the one character is splitting two ways.
Well, you know what else doesn't make any sense? I mean, again, it's all just for the novelty of this. It's not real well thought out. Another thing, and I meant to mention this earlier when we were talking about the All Access, it doesn't really make a lot of sense that well, actually, no, we have that here. This is where we have that, actually. It doesn't make a lot of sense. We haven't talked about Darkseid Magneto and all that. They team up. We get a Darkseid Magneto team
amalgam.
up.
What is that?
Well, there wouldn't have, to be fair, there wouldn't have been really an excuse to amalgamate them.
I'll just do it anyways. Who cares?
I honestly wasn't sure why villains were amalgamating. Was there an explanation for that I missed?
Magneto and Darkseid had a thing that they could amalgam them.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah.
Because there's that place where Access is like, oh, here's a new power I have, because he's like, it's like Richard Lester is writing him, right? Like he just in the scene is suddenly like, oh, I can do this now, okay. And so he starts amalgamating people, and then there's bad guys that are amalgamating, and he's like, I don't know why that's happening, and I missed why that was ever happening.
No, and so because when we said lazy before, I just mean in terms of the weird amalgam characters they bring in on this this miniseries. Both sides, the heroes and villains, have I think two of the lamest amalgams where their names are really dumb.
Yep.
One of them we brought up is Jean Black, but then the other one for the villains is Scarlet Witch and what is her name? It's like Lashina or something like that.
Yeah, was it one of the Fourth World characters, maybe?
Yeah, she's the leader of the Furies. She's a big part of Ostrander Suicide Squad.
Okay.
but
I've never read her in any or in very much. I only know her from Versus cards because my wife was my wife built a deck that was almost unbeatable. That was the Apocalypse characters, and so a lot of those characters I only know because my wife beat me over and over again playing Versus with them.
Yeah. So Scarlet Witch and I think it's Lash Sheen. It's something like that. It's Lash something. They combine to become Red Lash. Wouldn't it just be Scarlet Lash? Like, why red? It's so weird.
One thing, yeah, that's a terrible name. There were a lot of terrible names.
Yeah,
Thor-El is my favorite. Yeah, that's so bad. But and I was kind of waiting for some kind of line about like, oh, I'm new at this. I'm terrible at amalgamating people. And like that would have been a nice throwaway explanation for why this is so
like
terrible.
A little joke, yeah.
Yeah, but the point I started making earlier that I never got to is but we're there now from what you were talking about is okay. So riddle me this: we're not merging universes. We're just merging two characters. But everybody's got a history they remember.
Yes, that was a big thing because Robin and Angel mix, and he goes, "Oh, I was trained by Bat X," which is maybe the laziest name.
And then Bat X shows up. There is a Bat X, but some of these characters couldn't have ever been amalgamated. So how do they exist in the memories of, like, my brain exploded?
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
You know what else is really weird? I don't know if you had this. So, Giant Man and is it Martian Manhunter? Giant Man and Green Lantern, I think, merge.
Yes.
And then Wasp and Wonder Girl merge. And they're still married, but one of them is two middle-aged people. The other one is one middle-aged, one teen, and she talks like a teen. And it's so weird. I don't like that. You
know what else is really lazy? We merged Captain America and Shazam when we called him Captain America Jr.
Yeah. Because he's Captain Marvel Jr. That's the only thing that we could think of. It's
and then I'm like, who in his history that only exists in his brain apparently was the original Captain America?
Well, and then Captain America Jr. is weird because Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel Jr. they do that thing where they'll talk about like different gods that gave them powers.
Yeah.
But then Captain America Jr. will be like, by the powers of Eisenhower.
Yeah, Lincoln.
I used the words of Nixon.
yeah, that was hilarious.
It's so weird.
Yeah, he said something about like the dishonesty or crookedness of Nixon.
Yeah.
Senior Sticks, $2 super chat. OG Justice League did not have Bat, Superman, and Wonder Woman. See, I didn't think it did. I gotta figure out what the actual first issue of that really had, because I was just reading the first thing that came up on Google, and it is clearly incorrect.
I don't know. That was always my impression, but I'm not a big teen book guy, so
I'm not either.
I read
it's a big blind spot for me.
League.
Jesse, Surfy's access should be public domain and belong to everyone. I agree.
I think Henry Cavill should be accessed in the DCU, and he should just show up in Green Lantern's Busy.
No, other things I'm reading are saying that was the team in the actual first appearance. In Brave and the Bold 28, fighting Starro, like you said.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that was the original team, but I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what everybody thinks of, is that it's just so often things will get in like the cultural zeitgeist and be not actually correct. So I didn't want to assume that I was right about that. Like that's what I had in my canon.
Well, a lot of people have that with Captain America and Avengers. So
yeah. Well, and that makes a lot of sense because he's added.
He's added an issue 4.
What's complicated is so sort of. There's like a second team where he's a regular, but he's brought in issue 4 but he doesn't stick around. And then he comes back later when they do like a second iteration of the team that's only got 4 members. Because I didn't know that until I read an issue with that.
Why? I've read the original Avengers book. I think he does stick
Does
around.
he?
I haven't read it since high
Or
school, but
maybe
I'm
he like
pretty
comes
sure
in and out. He's not the leader until later.
yeah, he kind of bounces around the
Yeah.
leader. But
Uh,
Hulk also quits that team in like issue 2, and then he's the main villain of issue 3. Yeah,
oh, that's weird.
it's like Namor villains for a bit.
Why does Spider-Man look like a child here? Like, I'm fine with Wonder Woman being taller than him, but
It's to make that joke with him and Wonder Woman, where she's like, let's wrestle around for a little bit,
oh,
Spider.
that was so awkward. Well, she was like, let's arm wrestle.
I think didn't she just say let's wrestle?
No, she said,
Is it arm
oh
wrestle?
no, it isn't. I thought it was arm wrestling. I don't know why I thought that. No, you're right. It is a wrestling match.
Yeah,
That's pretty
'cause
weird.
she says that, and Mary Jane's in the crowd, and she goes, "Where's my husband, Peter Parker? He wouldn't be ogling this woman."
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what she says. SS Jerry says, "Cap, I'm telling you, dumb fun." Well, yeah. Well, part of the dumb fun is making fun of all the dumb things in it.
Yeah.
I think like. No, I
That's-
thoroughly enjoy a lot of this. It's just like it's a guilty pleasure. This was a slog.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was because I read 12 issues of this, and by the end I was like, okay, I'm a little done with this.
If you had a year in between them, like you would have in real time, it might be a little better. But also, I just thought that this was overwritten. Like the guy just wouldn't stop writing. I was like, just take some words off the page. And then I got really tired of all the cute references to everything. It's just every other page, somebody's got to say up in the sky or face front, or like we couldn't stop doing it. And I got kind of tired of that. You remember the bit, like a little bit of that in this kind of gimmicky thing is okay, I think, but like it got so cutesy where I got numb to it and I started just waiting for the next thing. Like there's a place where somebody out of context to Superman says like speeding bullet leaps tall buildings and was talking about like the Avengers or something.
Oh,
and I was like, stop doing
it was
that.
The one Western guy describing the Avengers to Jonah Hex.
Okay, I couldn't remember where it was.
No, because at a certain point it's like Expendables 2, where you have that scene where Arnold and Bruce Willis are together, and Arnold's like, "I'll be back," and Bruce Willis goes, "No, I'll be back," and then Arnold goes, "Yippee-ki-yay!"
Oh,
get it? They switched catchphrases.
Yeah, and I mean people eat that up, but I don't like that.
And they delivered it exactly like I did, just for like yippee-ki-yay.
Like, do we have to say this?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, Access is played here kind of like he's supposed to be something of a tragic character, where like he can't have his personal life anymore because he's got to like run around the universe to make sure that things don't merge. But again, like that all feels retroactive and kind of forced in. He's too powerful, and then I guess that's supposed to be sort of the trade-off. But then also, I don't like his girlfriend at all. So like, I don't care if he's with her. Yeah. I don't know why he cares that much about her. She doesn't trust him. She doesn't believe anything he says. There's one place where
they have
finally
no happy moments.
There's one moment where she starts to border on being reasonable, and then it goes away.
Yeah. Oh, it's a weird moment. I just thought of this because I was thinking of that moment where she's like, "Look, I've seen Galactus. Okay, like nothing weirds me out. Oh, what? You go to a different universe? Okay, yeah, you're lying."
Yeah.
Isn't it weird that Wolverine in Days of Future Past says that? Where he's like, "Yeah, I came from another universe," and Wolverine's like, "Get out of here. That's not a thing." Wolverine, you're living in an apocalyptic future run by robots.
Well, yeah, but he didn't get there in any cosmic fashion. It's just his future.
But I imagine he's had an entire history up to that point.
Well, right, but what about... I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, of course.
Like,
it's one of those... Like,
yes, he lives in a world where weird things happen, but what has he dealt with at that point, necessarily, that would prepare him for alternate universes?
I mean, I don't know, but he's had his entire life up to that point. He's in the future.
Well, yeah, but
I imagine
why
he's
does he's
fought
an
stuff.
old man equate to I should believe in alternate dimensions?
Because I assume he's faced that stuff before. He's Wolverine. He's a superhero in the Marvel universe.
No, I know.
It's like 1,000 years old.
But just thinking back to actual Days of Future Past, had the X-Men ever dealt with that situation?
Well, yeah, and probably not. But I mean, it's not
That's
that far off.
that's all I'm saying. Uh, and then yeah, Magneto is kind of dumb for believing that Darkseid actually sees him as a god like Darkseid.
Yeah. Did you have flashbacks to Apocalypse
Yes, I did. I had
when
that thought myself.
Darkseid walks through a portal and Magneto goes, "Who the F are you?" And then they team up.
Yeah, and I always thought with that movie until
Oh, there's that X.
yeah, there's Bat X, until I did a rewind on it that there must have been some kind of mind control going on, and I like gave it a little bit of a pass initially, and then I was like, oh, Magneto's just going along with this god. That like what could possibly go wrong? That happens here.
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh, and Green Lantern just
he makes Godzilla.
makes Godzilla.
He makes Godzilla and he makes an Iron Man suit.
But see, this is the kind of cutesy stuff I'm talking about, where Beast is like, I'll be super amalgamated. I'm like, get out with that, because you're only using the word amalgam because that's been the name of this, but like Beast doesn't know that, so I guess the excuse is supposed to be Beast uses big words, so he's come up with amalgamate. No, get out of there.
But
with
that's
that.
like every line Beast has in this, where it's like over the top, like looked up words in a thesaurus.
Uh, oh, and then I had this question. So Darkseid, and like I had kind of tuned out at this point, so there might be something that I wasn't thinking of or that I missed. I was trying to stay engaged, but it was becoming a bit daunting. So Darkseid is trying to get access to join him so that he's got the ability to go between universes and take over everything, right? He's trying to take over this other universe with Magneto's help, and he goes, "Access, I'll spare your friends, and you can join me, but you have to basically have a deal with the devil and do it right now, right?" And he tells him that earlier in the story, and then later he shows up and he does it again. And then there's this really weird twist where, like, he takes his cape off and it's not Darkseid. Darkseid's standing behind fake Darkseid. Was I reading that right?
No, so I had the same thing.
I thought that's what was happening.
For a second, I thought Darkseid was like, "I'm actually you from the future," and I was like, "What?"
No, he's working with him from the future.
He's got like a little henchman in purple behind Darkseid that like, walks out. No, I had to read it a second time because I went, "Wait, did Darkseid just say that he's Access?" I'm
Oh,
confused.
okay. I thought he was pretending to be Darkseid, but it is still a real version of him from the future, right?
Yeah. So
okay, so I'm so confused.
He already has the power.
Why? Yeah. Okay. So I didn't miss anything. That's what I was going to ask you. Why would Darkseid need younger Access if he's already got a future version of him working for him? Unless the idea is I have to go back in time and make sure that happens. But Darkseid's not time traveling.
And then Access and evil Access amalgam into just Access.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, it gets a little weird.
Yeah, and
I don't think they knew what they were doing.
They didn't. It does that whole paradoxical thing where we have to make sure certain things happen in the past that have happened already, like the fight at the beginning with Juggernaut, because Darkseid sent Juggernaut and whoever else, some other character, I can't remember who, and that's happened already because we saw it happen. So it's like things that are happening now we've already seen happen in the past because it was like time travel stuff that was sent back somehow. So the idea is that it's supposed to be kind of a loop, but then we also at the same time do the you can change your fate can be whatever you want it to be. And so you think at some point it would all break down because they're changing stuff now, But yeah, I don't think we're thinking any of that out. It's supposed to be that like is the future set question, but it's real shoehorned in and
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, you see, Cap, it's okay because Access says time travel is confusing, and he doesn't like it.
Right. Yes, he does say that because there is a part where he's like, "This doesn't make sense," and I'm like, "No, it doesn't." And then he's like, "Time travel's confusing."
And now I've gone cross-eyed.
Yeah. It's very strange. It's probably for the best that this was the last amalgam thing that happened.
Yeah. No, I don't know what Darkseid's doing. It would be like if in Super Friends he was like, Wonder Woman, I'm gonna marry you. By the way, shocking twist, here's my wife, you from the future. And you just go, yeah, you're already married to her. What is your plan?
Amalgam Nation says, "I'm glad he showed up." By the way, we have a patron who's an Amalgam fan named Amalgam Nation, and he's here. Evil Access is why the bad guys on the bad side started mixing, although he was cloaked until the last issue. Oh,
Yeah.
Evil Access is doing the merging. Okay,
That's why he should have
Okay.
merged Darkseid and Magneto.
yep. No, he should have. Okay. I'm sorry. I somehow missed that because I had forgotten until we got to the page that Evil Access even happened, was even a thing. Oh yes,
There's
that's
Jonah
right.
Hex
Yep.
before he gets lost in time.
Real quick. You remember the weird business at the very beginning of this book where Access is now gotten used to like doing his superhero duties, and so like apparently he's just doing like he's embraced that. He's just doing regular adventures between universes. Like this is just routine now. And there's some throwaway thing at the beginning about some adventure dealing with Batman
The
and
Green
Spider-Man
Lantern.
and Kingpin.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Did that happen in a book somewhere? Or did he just say that? Because
I
it
guess
reads
so.
like a recap for a thing that somebody read. And I don't know if, because there was a Batman Spider-Man crossover in like 96, like around this time, but I don't know if I don't think Access is in it.
Yeah. Or Kingpin, because isn't that the one with Carnage and Joker?
Yes.
And
So,
wouldn't that be the one from before that they reference
yeah.
in
So
the
was there another
original
one I don't
miniseries?
know about?
Well, because in the original miniseries, Joker meets Spider-Man, and he's like, "Oh, Spider-Man, I remember you from last time."
Yeah. That was the thing that confused me as a kid, where I was like, why does Joker know who Spider-Man is? Because I didn't know there
Yeah.
was a miniseries, or that there was a one-shot. I have that. I haven't read it forever.
Mhm. Yeah, because I'm guessing that's where they do the thing where Joker thinks Carnage is too crazy for him.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I've ever reviewed that, but if I haven't, I might put that in non-spawn year.
Oh, okay, nice.
Anyway,
Maybe.
what else do you want to say about this nonsense?
I don't know. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
I was so shocked that Jonah Hex showed up because that's what I'm reading right now outside of this. So I was like, oh, well, he's here now, I guess. Now he's not.
Yeah, I had this thought, and I was sure I was wrong about it. So I'm glad to know that I had this thought where I was like, Austin told me he's been reading Jonah Hex comics. I wonder if he read this and was like, hey, Jonah Hex is a character I should read about.
Oh, no. No, I started reading Jonah Hex. I blew through like the first trade and like right before I started the main miniseries, like the first one, and I was like, man, this is some tonal whiplash.
Chewbacca's Lover, yes, there is a Batman Spider-Man with Kingpin and Ra's al Ghul. Is that the same book?
I don't know. There was also, I think, a Superman and Spider-Man one.
Yeah, I think that's quite a bit earlier, though.
I want to say that's the first.
But there's a really
crossover, isn't
famous
it?
one from the 80s or late 70s, early 80s. Am I right?
Yeah, no, I want to say that's their first crossover is Spider-Man and Superman.
Yeah, I had a chance to get my hands on that at one point, and it's probably a lot more expensive now. But it was not cheap when I found it. I actually found that on the documentary trip when I made Midwest in Panels at The Source, the biggest comic shop we went to in Minnesota, and they had just gotten like a big box somebody brought in, and they were looking through things, and there was like this immaculate copy of that, and I was like, I would really like to get my hands on that, and I don't have the couple $100 to drop, but yeah, that was cool.
SS Jerry asks us in the comments
Yeah,
if Daredevil is out of character in this. When you see him in the yellow and red,
he doesn't do
um,
anything.
so I think because his dialogue's weird, but I think it's specifically because it's that version.
Yeah, it is Daredevil yellow.
Like,
I mean, it's
it is the Stan Lee version, and every Stan Lee character is quippy Spider-Man.
but to be fair, there's this attempt at kind of trying to write golden and silver age characters that way, but then I could find you, I'm not going to look for it right now, but I can find you several examples of modern characters talking just like that.
Yeah, no, it's very inconsistent.
Yeah. I mean, the
'Cause-
writing is my biggest issue with I like the basic premise of the second story, I think, a little more than the first, but I like the writing in the first a lot better.
No, absolutely. The best thing in the second miniseries is that one of the DC characters is a Captain Marvel Jr. One of them has like a little moment to show that they're attracted to Jean Grey, and I'm like, that's perfect because everyone in original X-Men is attracted to Jean Grey, even Professor X.
Yep, that was a thing. Real quick, what did you think about the art in each of these?
It's not great. I don't know. It's very of the time. That's just kind of another factor into like this is very much a '90s book.
Yeah, there is a difference between the two. I feel like the unlimited access feels a little bit more phoned in, but there's also so many characters on the page.
No, absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
it's serviceable, but it's not.
It's not like full Liefeldian, but it's like it's in that vein where like that is the kind of house style.
But I mean, DC versus Marvel also has that to some degree. It's a
Oh
little
no,
it's a little splashier, but
I'm talking about all three of them.
yeah,
Yeah. No, because I think they all just kind of have that. They're obviously all different art, but it's of that era.
yes, Chewbacca's Lover. There was also a Teen Titans X-Men crossover in the '80s. I either still have that or I sold it when I was selling stuff on eBay. But I've had that in my possession a couple times, and I don't remember if I kept it or not.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, now I'm just talking about comics I bought.
Hey, maybe Jubilee and Robin also dated in that.
Well,
I mean, I don't even know if she was around yet.
anything else you want to bring up about these before we call it a day?
We've
been talking for an hour and a half, but in my defense, we had 8 crazy issues to cover.
SSJ, do you think this would have been better if short and more condensed or longer to give it more room to breathe? I thought the last one was too long, personally. But I don't know. I think part of that is really just how overridden it is.
Yeah, I'm not even sure the issue is so much. I mean, the plotting is sloppy, certainly, but I mean, I could also say that about the first mini. I think this is much more so. Like, if it's possible for Amalgam to jump the shark, this did that.
Well, I think just for this type of a thing, I don't need things to be fleshed out because what it's about is just fun. Like, hey, here's like the cool fan servicey things you want to see. Like, here's Wolverine hanging out with Lobo or whatever. Like, I don't need that to be long. Like, just keep moving.
You could do that, and it would just be a different thing. Like,
yeah,
there's
like,
a version of that to be written.
Focus, so
I don't need that if that's not the purpose of it.
No, absolutely. The more character focused version, I think, is what Perez was trying to do, but this I think just needs to be a little bit shorter.
Yeah, and just half as many words on the page.
Absolutely,
and not as cutesy.
And cut access. Just have Marvel meet DC.
Yeah, he does feel kind of so like wholly unnecessary. And it doesn't feel like anything's at stake when you're Scribblenauts, like you said. When you just pull in anything you want. I mean, did you not have that thought about halfway through? He masters that ability, and I'm going, okay, so bring in anything you've ever heard of.
Yeah, bring in like Heather Locklear and Pac-Man. Just bring in some crazy stuff.
Bring in Galactus. You're done.
Oh,
Like,
his name even comes up in that miniseries.
that's true.
Hmm. Yeah, bring in like every version of the Hulk
SS
and
Jerry,
Superman.
why did they choose 4 issues for each of these minis?
Is that just kind of what? No, 'cause how long is Secret Wars? That's not 4 issues.
No, but a lot of, and going really back to the 70s and 80s, Marvel especially published a lot of like 4 and 5 issue miniseries.
Mhm.
And I think it's kind of in that vein where it's like this, like the original like Avengers versus X-Men is a 4 issue miniseries. I think they're thinking event that's not like giant uh be all end all, but still trying to make a big deal out of it, trying to get people to read it.
Mhm.
It's going to be 4 issues. I think they also probably went with that because that's what DC versus Marvel was, and this wasn't, amalgam one shots. Like I keep calling these spin-offs, they're kind of sequels before they're anything.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what they are. Um, in a way, I think both Access books are kind of the same book, where they open with the same status quo,
Yeah,
but
no, that's fair. And then just slightly, or not even slightly, but just different premises where
Mhm.
the, the
Exactly.
the first one is oh hey, let's mix with like let's have the threat be the amalgam universe could come back, so it feels like a real standard movie sequel, right?
Mhm.
You bring back the villain from the last one, kind of, even though I didn't know Doctor Strange Fate was like a big villain, but okay.
Somehow the amalgams returned.
Yeah, well, that's what's weird about it is, right, it feels like it's a sequel to the first book, but the threat wasn't that threat, so I don't know what it's
Yeah.
a sequel to. And then, and then the second one is, what if we had time travel in the midst of all of this? And
Mhm.
that feels like a consummate third movie where it just goes even more off the rails.
Mhm.
So the second
No,
one, we just do the same thing
that's the end game.
again, and
Let's go back to different places because we did all the people. Now let's go to specific places and times.
yeah. So basically, the framework of this is the original Ninja Turtles trilogy.
Yeah, exactly.
The second one is the same thing, but goofier. And then the third one is time travel and awful. That's not fair. This wasn't like awful. It was just hard to get through.
No, this amalgam stuff I think definitely has a law of diminishing returns, but um,
Yeah, absolutely. Just space it out. Have some time in between.
exactly. Go outside in between.
Everybody, thanks.
Meet a new friend.
Thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. What are we talking about next week? Let me check.
I don't know.
Okay, we're doing a movie next week, Austin.
Oh boy.
Chewbacca's lover put in a request on Patreon and asked us to review Team America, which I've never seen.
Oh boy.
Have you ever seen that?
I've not actually seen it, but I know stuff about it. That's you know who made that, right?
I don't remember.
Well, that's the South Park people. That's basically like
Oh, so
another
now we're
South Park type
back
movie.
to South Park again. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this unfortunate?
I mean, no, people really like that movie. It's
Okay,
just,
okay.
I don't think you will.
That's okay. I've
That's
reviewed
that's
plenty
where
of
the
things I don't
big
like.
that's where the big America FES song comes from, if you know that.
I mean, I've heard people sing that, but I don't know
You
if I've
probably
actually
heard it
heard
at some
it.
point, yeah. But
SS Jerry, real quick, $5 super chat of these. Thank you very much, by the way, of these newer mixes, which might make for a good single issue. That's a good. Well, you know the one I
that is
want to
the
see.
question.
The one-
What's that?
Well, okay, I'll say there's two. My
It's Thor-El.
my real answer is Thor-El, because as stupid as that name is, you could maybe do something fun with Thor being from Krypton, I guess. But the one I really want to see is Superman mixed with Bishop, because I don't understand what it is, and it seems wrong, and I just want to see someone dig that hole even deeper. As far as a as far as a good single issue, yeah, I think Thorell is your best bet. But what do you think? Is it Gene Black?
Gene Black's definitely up there. I wish I could say Darkseid Magneto, but I can't.
Can you believe they didn't do that?
I want Bat X and was it Red Wing?
Yeah, Red Wing.
Whatever his name is. Well, Red Wing's Falcon's bird. Whatever his name
It's
is.
weird. It's weird that no, that's his name though. It is Red Wing.
Is it Red Wing?
It's Red Wing.
Okay, weird.
It's the single only thing from these two universes that this writer was not familiar with.
Yeah, because Falcon's not even here, so yeah.
No, that's a good call because you basically do the X-Men as a dynamic duo.
Yeah. Well, I just want to see what Bat X is because that's like the worst name ever.
He's not Professor X mixed together. Professor X is here.
Is that he's Batman and Professor X merged together, but just in his history that shouldn't exist. However that works.
See, I didn't think there was an amalgamation there. I thought it was Batman as an X-Man character. Like
no, I think it's supposed to be because it's Batman, like it's Robin's mentor and Iceman. No, Angel,
yeah.
I can't talk. And Angel's mentor merged together, so you get Bat X because how else do you merge Batman and Professor X?
Real quick, sorry, we should finish up. You know what else is really weird?
What's that?
The fact that Thanos never comes back.
That is weird.
Because there's so much posturing.
This is where that Infinity Gauntlet thing came from. Unless that's in the Prez run, I can't remember. Well, no, that is in the Prez run, where Darkseid gets the Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh, that's right. I need to read that again because I really liked it and I don't remember anything about it. I've just reviewed too many things since then, I guess. But yeah, Thanos and Darkseid have all this posturing throughout the original miniseries, and they never do anything. It's just we're gonna fight, and then like, do they fight?
Yeah, it's also weird that Darkseid calls Thanos a knockoff of him, which is like a knock at the design thing.
Yeah,
but it's weird to hear like a person say that to another person.
Isn't that weird? It's like
that's a little weird.
No, it's too meta.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like somehow he's Deadpool all of a sudden. It's like somehow he's Gwenpool. It's like somehow he knows.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's really weird.
That's a little strange.
And also that we just keep jumping back to them in that because all the other matchups were done by those gods, but not them. They just found each other randomly. Am I remembering this right? Did they find each other randomly before the contest was even announced?
Yes. Yes, they do. And they just kind of hang out with each other.
Just yelling at each other for looking like the other and you're not as cool as me. You're not as powerful as I am. You look too much like me. That pisses me off. Meanwhile, the two scarecrows are like buddy. Let's go be evil scarecrows together.
Imagine if you met Seth Rogen and he was like, "You ripped me off."
Captain Logan, you knock off of me. It's like, what? We both have parents. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Okay, well, this was so much fun to talk about.
Yeah, no, it was. Thank you, SS Jerry.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. I really enjoyed this, and thanks for the additional support there with the super chats. Let's go ahead and get going. But next time we're gonna do Team America, so I gotta find where that's streaming and take a look at that. And we're back to pseudo South Park land, I guess.
Oh yeah, I'm interested to see. I'm more interested to see how you react to that than I am to watch the movie. That's gonna be funny.
Well, thanks. I can't wait. No, we'll have a good time with it, I'm sure. Anyway, thanks again for being here, guys, and whether you watched live or after the fact, and we'll see you again real soon. Tomorrow night, I'm gonna have a new Captain Logan show, 250th episode. So jump in for that. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. It feels like the 200th episode was like last week, man.
Well, we do them twice a week now, so we got there a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Because the last 100 shows before that, we weren't meeting twice a week most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also going to be doing a big announcement for an event that we'll be doing on the channel next weekend. So look forward to that. Austin knows what it is. Austin is going to be part of that whole thing, but I'm not going to tell you what it is until tomorrow night. And the only hint I'm going to give you is some of you guys will be very excited and some of you guys will not care.
No, it's a big time for the Captain Logan show. You got the Slate stuff yesterday, you got this thing tomorrow, and in like a week there's going to be the Super Bowl, so there's going to be like 8,000 trailers.
Oh, geez. Yeah, good
So,
call.
Yeah, it's big time. You'll have like next week, which probably won't be anything, but then the week after it'll be back to that craziness.
We'll see how many episodes we can get in between part 19 of the Zaslav wave, but
Yeah, exactly. That's when you'll get all the directors next week.
Well, anyway, I hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Oh, and Austin and I on Friday are doing another commentary for Video Game Movie Mania. We're doing the Mario movie.
Yep.
Which is good timing because the new Mario movie comes out in like a month and a half. So.
Mm-hmm. No, it's interesting.
Or is
not
it
getting a Super Bowl trailer?
I say a month and a half. Is it like 2.5, isn't it? Because we just started February and that comes out mid-April.
It's like mid-April, yeah. Yep.
I don't know why McDonald's had the Happy Meal toys this month. That's so weird. Like almost 4 months before that movie comes out.
You'd think it would have Ant-Man ones because that comes out in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we digress. We'll see you again real soon. I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin. The day goes.
I am me. Goodbye.
Bye, folks. What if we amalgamated?
I don't want to think.
Oh
about
God,
that.
would it be the day Logan or the Captain Ghost?
Both. No, it'd be something really lazy.
Well, either of those is pretty lazy.
If you and I amalgamated, it would be like Gene Black. It would be like Austin Logan.
Plushie the X says it's because Mario got delayed. I thought April was always the date for that movie.